So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at how to use Minitab to create some graphs. And so we're going to take a look at 3 different graphs. We're going to look at a histogram, we're going to look at dot plots, and we're also going to look at stem and leaf displays. So don't forget that you do have detailed written instructions in D2L. So this is the detailed instructions for this week. So this steps you through an example of how to do one of each of these kinds of graphs. And so in the examples, we're using the same file every time, but of course in your lab I'll have you using different files and different data columns. So be careful of what you have selected and what settings need to be done when you're actually doing your lab. So let's just run through this example. So we'll go ahead and open up Minitab. And then we're going to go ahead and open up the IQ lead file. So I can just click on this little file up here. And I do have all of these data sets in 2 places available for you. If you're working on campus, you can find them in this L drive here. And if you're working on any one of the computers in the labs, you should be able to access the L drive on that computer. And then you would just go look for my last name, and you'll find all of our files listed there. If you're at home, then you'll need to make sure that you download them from D2L, and you could just go ahead and save them in a file on your computer so that you have them to access readily. So now that we have the file open, we want to create a histogram, and so whenever you're going to be doing a graph, you're going to click on this graph menu item up on the top, and it gives you a whole bunch of different options for types of graphs. So we're going to go ahead and click on histogram to create a histogram, and you can choose either a simple, or this one on the right here has the normal distribution superimposed on it. That's kind of nice. A lot of times we'll be asking you whether the data appears to be normal or not, and so if you have that superimposed, it just is kind of nice. We're not going to do that, but again, it's an option. You can select that one if you want to, but we're just going to do the simple and then click on OK. And then we need to select what column we want to create the histogram for. We're doing it for column C8, the IQF file. So 2 ways to select that. You could make sure that your cursor is blinking over in this graphs variable box. And then you can either just click on it once and then click select, or you can double click on IQF to get it over there. So you can change your labels and some scales and do some things here. For right now, we're just going to click on OK, and it will create a histogram for us. So once you have your histogram created, you can also change your labels by just double clicking on them. And so here I've double clicked this IQF label, so I could change it down here, right in what I wanted. You can change what font you're using, whether it's bold, italics, or underlined. You can change the text size, and you could apply the same font to all of the axes labels, which I would probably do so that everything looks the same if you're going to change that. We're not going to change that for now. We're just going to click OK and just leave it the way it was. So you can also, so this automatically will group these into different classes, so it will do it automatically for you. You can change that if you would like to. So when we do our stem and leaf plot, we're going to be going up from 10. So we're going to have the 40s on one line and the 50s on another line and the 60s. So we could change that, so that change our graph here so that it looks like our stem and leaf plot will look. And so in order to do that, you would just double click on the bars and then click on this thing called binning. And we want to keep it at midpoint, and then click on this button here for midpoint cut point positions, and then you're going to want to get rid of the ones that are already pre-selected and then enter in your own. So if we wanted our histogram to have 1 bar for the 40s, 1 bar for the 50s, then this is going to start out and go from 40 to 49 actually, and so you would need to find the midpoint of that, and to find that midpoint you would take 40 plus the top level, which would be 49, and then divide that by 2. And that gives you 44.5. And then you put a space between these, no comma or anything, just a space, and it's going to increase by 10 every time. So once you get that first one in there, then the rest of them will be pretty easy. So then it'll be 54.5, and then 64.5, and then 74.5, and then 84.5, and then 94.5, and 104.5, and 114.5, and 124.5, and 134.5. And I think that I need one more. 144.5. And then just click on OK. And so now we have it grouped in that way, so that we have the 40s on one bar, the 50s on another bar, and the 60s on another bar, the 70s, and so on and so forth. So if we go ahead and click on this bin, then we can see how many values are in there. So there are 33 values in this bar. And if we click on this one, we can see that there are 18 values in this bar. This one has 22. This bar here has 2. This one has 1. And so we can see that from our graph. Now, to get this into your Word file, to turn it in, you want to have this graph selected. So you want to make sure that you click on it somewhere, and then you can press Control-C. That will copy it to the clipboard on your computer, and then you can open up a Word document. And so you would want to call it Lab 2, write your name, and then this is problem number 1, and then push Control-V and it will paste that graph into your document. And then you'll want to answer some questions about this. So in order to get a new line, push Shift-Enter to get a new line. You could also resize this graph so that it's not quite as big and doesn't take up as much room. So you could make that smaller. And then, so a lot of times we're going to be asking you whether this graph looks like it's from a normal distribution or not. And so what you would want to say is you want to describe whether it looks like it is or not. And so it does not fit perfectly, but it does appear to be, loosely at least, from a normal distribution. So our data values start off small, they increase up to a maximum, and then they come back down to a minimum. So you would just want to say that. So this data does appear to be from a normal distribution. And then say why, because the data starts at a minimum, then increases to a maximum, and then decreases back down to a minimum. And if the data, for whatever reason, does not look normal, then you would describe why that data does not appear to be normal. So maybe the data is really skewed, or maybe there are, there's a big amount of data here, a small amount of data in the middle, and then another big amount of data here, or something. So in whatever way, or maybe the data looks all about the same. So if your bars are all about the same height, then that would not appear to be normal. Because for a normal distribution, it's got to start at a minimum, increase to a maximum, and then decrease back down to a minimum. So that is how we would do a histogram. And I believe that you can, if you have it selected, yeah, you can print the graph if you have it selected as well. So that's our histogram. And then we want to do a dot plot. So again, you would go click on graph and then select the dot plot. And we just want to do a simple dot plot and then click on OK. And we're doing it again for the IQF data and then click on OK again. So here is our dot plot, and so you can change things on your dot plot as well, just like you can for the histogram. You could click on this word IQF and you could do the same changes that you could do before with the histogram. And so I'm not going to change that. It doesn't really matter to me what the font is, so I'm not going to worry about that. We could also change the binning just like we did before if you wanted to. So you could click on binning, and then changing that would be exactly the same as we did the last time with the histograms. So you could go ahead and change that. So we're not going to change it this time for this dot plot. We're just going to leave it the way it is. And so again, to get this into your Word file, we would click Control-C, go over to your Word file, and now if you just hit Enter and then Control-V will paste that right into your document, and then you can resize it and make it a little bit smaller, and then go ahead and answer whatever questions there are about it. And a lot of times you're going to be answering the question, does this look like it's coming from a normal distribution or not? And I would say that when we're looking at it in this way, the data does not appear to be from a normal distribution, because these values are all kind of way over here, and then this is just going all over the place. It does kind of increase up and then come back down. So if you used a super loose definition of the normal distribution, maybe, but because these are going up and down so much in the dot plot the way it is right now, I would say that this does not appear to be from a normal distribution. So again, there's going to be no correct answer or no wrong answer as long as your explanation for why you feel the way you feel about it matches. So if I wanted to say that this appears to be normal, then I would have to explain why I feel that this is normal. And as long as your explanation backs up and justifies it being normal, then your answer is correct. If what you say does not match, then your answer will be wrong. So there is, I guess, a right and a wrong way to answer these. You just need to make sure that you're justifying very clearly and that your justification is actually true. So those are the important things here. So if we change the grouping on this like we did for the histogram, it would appear to be from a normal distribution. So again, it's going to depend on what your graph looks like and how you want to explain things or not. Okay, so that is our dot plot. And then we also want to do a stem and leaf plot. So again, we're going to go up and click on graph here. And now this time we want to select stem and leaf. Double click IQF and make sure that this trim outliers box is not selected. Enter in 10 into our increment box. Whoops. Click on it. And then go ahead and click on OK. And so this first row of numbers you can just ignore, basically. Your stem plot is just these two rows of data. So again, the nice thing about the stem and leaf plot is that you can see exactly what your data values are. We have a data value of 46, a data value of 50, 56, there's no 60s, 70, 71, there are two 72s, a 73, a 74, there are three 75s. Okay, so you can see exactly what your data values are by looking at the stem and leaf plot. So these give you the first digit or the first two digits, and then this is the last digit in the data value. So these is a cumulative count of your data. So there's one data value in the first row, and then there are 2 data values in the second row. So remember, this is cumulative. So 1, and then 2, 3. So that's why there's a 3 there. And then there are none in the 60s, so it still is a 3. And then 25. So this 25 means that there are really 22 data values in this row, because 3 of them, of the 25, are coming from here. And then this is 60, so the 60 is how many there are from the top, and including this row that the 60 is on. So these data values along with the data values above it add up to 60 data values. This one has a parenthesis around it because this line of data contains the median. So one of these data values is the median data value. And then it starts over again, so it starts from the bottom and works its way back up. So that's how this works. Again, you don't really need to worry about this first line of data. So to get this into your Word file, you're just going to want to click and then hold your mouse down and drag over to highlight it all. And then again, you can press Control-C. If you don't like the Control-C way to copy it, you can go ahead and click on Edit, and then you can copy it here. And then you would go click on your Word file, and then press Control-V, or again, if you don't like the Control-V option, you can click on Home and then click on Paste, and that will paste your values in there as well. So one weird thing that Word is doing here is because I've got this numbering going on, it's adding in all of these numbers. So you're going to want to get rid of all of those. So we don't want this 13 or the 12. So you're going to have to do a little bit of formatting, which is kind of a pain, but some of these got off kilter, so I'm just going to fix them so that they're all about the same. Oops. So they don't have to be perfect, but you don't want them totally out of line. So that looks okay right there. And so that's how you would copy and paste them into your Word document. I don't want that one. And then again, you'd have a question to answer. So now when we're looking at this stem and leaf plot, now I would say that this does look approximately normal. And I'm just going to go back to my stem and leaf plot mini tab. This does look approximately normal. So again, the data is starting off at a minimum value, it's increasing up to a maximum, and then decreasing back down to a minimum. So using a loose definition of the normal distribution, I would say that this does appear to be from a normal distribution. So if you have any questions at all about completing Lab 2, just let me know, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks.